Hi everyone.
Hi guys.
Lovely to see you again. We're here today. This is very serious. We're talking. Well, no, not really. But we're talking old and new, and a house that I don't think we've ever really talked about before. No. Maybe a passing reference in one or two videos. That is Paco Rabanne.
Yeah. We had never spoken about it at all until our video recently with Making It Stink. They gave us a load of old things and new things.
I love that video. I really enjoyed that.
But I mean, so many discoveries. One of which, so there are a few things I went out and bought straight away. But here is La Nuit by Paco Rabanne. I haven't got enormous hands. This is actually just a little 5ml bottle. So this is one I bought.
Hands are sort of average size.
So we're talking about that
very wrong.
as well as something completely different. Phantom, which is the brand new.
So this is the old and the new, isn't it? Because this is pretty much hot off the presses, isn't it?
Yeah. So we've got a fragrance released in 1985, now discontinued, and a fragrance just been released, which seems to be really cutting edge, and maybe is changing the way perfume is made. We'll talk about it in a minute. I mean,
already, I mean, it's silly because it's just a sample, but I look at that and I think, oh, sort of astronaut's food in a little dry aged.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of
not dry aged. I mean, that sounds, but I mean dry. Ugh.
So we're going to talk a little bit about La Nuit first. So if you've got no interest in the vintage fragrance, do feel free to skip on. So yeah, after the video, I've just bought this little 5ml bottle. So this was about £12 on eBay. They're still, even though the fragrance is discontinued, they're still quite readily available. But I just wanted to get this 5ml. I'm just going to try and pour this onto a test strip.
And you had smelt it, of course, here, and we'd really tried it. And
yeah,
I think it's safe when you do that to go and buy something, isn't it?
But I mean, I'm now watching a few. There are a few bottles. I'm just trying to. There we go. On eBay, they are around.
I mean, I loved it when we tried it. I've looked myself and thought, should I get it?
So this is the EDP. So this is a 1985 release, and it smells like it. So it's Jean Quichard and Rosen de Matteau. So two kind of quite heavyweight perfumers.
Nobody is making perfume like this anymore.
This is
really annoying.
It smells so expensive.
Oh, it's very good.
It smells so rich and luxurious and expensive. This is just a Paco Rabanne release. This is not a niche fragrance release.
This would have been on the shelves of Boots every day.
But this is very much, when you smell it now, this is the kind of thing I can imagine if a niche house, we could name several here, but if a niche house released this for £175 or $200 for a 50ml, you would go, all right, yeah, I can understand that. It's been
kept well as well, I have to say.
Yeah,
the condition of this is really good. I'm getting very distinct, clear top notes that don't feel, especially.
It's even better on skin actually.
Buggered, you know.
You can still. There are lots of sealed bottles still around on eBay. So this, I get. If I were to describe this really simply, I would say this is a slightly more finessed, rounded out version of Kuros. I get a really big relation to Kuros.
Interesting.
More so on the skin. It's a bit sweeter in the mid. In the mid, it's a bit rounder and a bit fuller, and there's a bit more kind of honeyed, whereas Kuros is a bit of a more masculine punch. I still find this a masculine fragrance, even though I think it's marketed as feminine.
I don't get the Kuros thing so much.
Really?
The thing that first struck me was Vintage Derby.
Okay,
but more gentle and round somehow. The Vintage Derby is quite a rough leather in its way.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
but on skin.
But you've worn it on skin, so that is
on
different.
Skin, this goes quite animalic. The other fragrance, which is maybe a more obvious comparison, is Paco Rabanne.
Oh yeah.
The vintage one, which if you look for that on eBay, that's incredibly expensive. This is much cheaper, and pretty much as good. It does similar kind of things. You've got, again, it's a green chypre with a kind of hint of wormwood at the top and some other slightly bright green notes, but immediately it just feels so balanced. It doesn't have that. If we're talking about a designer 80s chypre, it doesn't have any kind of punch.
No.
That some of those fragrances have, that you open and go, whoa, okay, that's a bit rough around the edges.
It's an immediate it's like an immediate embrace, and it's sort of smooth immediately. I get a little, even though you wouldn't expect this to be something that could be integrated in a smooth manner, I get a little snuffed candle.
Oh yeah, okay, I see that. Yeah, a little bit. But it does
slightly waxy.
It just smells so elegant.
But
and on skin, I think it's even better. And on skin,
I'd like to try that again.
I get that. Maybe I'm seeing the Kuros relationship. It is a little bit more animalic on skin.
I'm starting to feel this slight funk coming through now. Yeah,
so good.
Not a lot, but just yeah.
But just the overwhelming thing about it is how well made it is. How elegant.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely first-rate perfume. And I'm so grateful to the guys. I was going to say Chris and Camille. I was going to say Kurt, Chris and Camille, because I would never in a million years have looked at this. Even if I was browsing Fragrantica one day and I saw this, I wouldn't think I'm going to look that up because it's an old Paco Rabanne from the 80s that I've never heard of. So it's so exciting when people point you in the right direction.
It's just incredibly well-made fragrance, isn't it?
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
So.
And I would buy that in a heartbeat, and I would wear that in a heartbeat.
Now
that's
for
the kind of
something
perfume I love.
Very, 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 very different.
Should I be scared?
Well, I mean, so let's just.
Should I get my support money?
So why why have we said this is kind of a groundbreaking? So there's a lot of blurb on the website and on the press releases about what this fragrance does. A futuristic aromatic fragrance from outer space. The fragrance, I'll put a picture up, comes in this little robot, and you can link your phone to it via an app.
You can't actually smell anything in space.
Oh yeah, that's a bit.
But I suppose when you get back on.
So they say they use cutting-edge creative process to select ingredients that make you feel energetic, powerful, confident, and sexy. They go on to talk about the superpower of the fragrance, an augmented creative. They augment the creativity with cutting-edge creative process that uses AI to enhance human inspiration. So there are materials selected by AI. So this is perfume done by algorithm, which seems, would seem to be the way forwards. But it is. Not only do they have an AI, they also have a super team of super perfumers from IFF. They describe us Lockdown for his crazy creativity, Juliette Karagzlogon, sorry for the pronunciation, for her exquisite knowledge of natural materials, along with master perfumers Dominic Ropion and Anne Filippo for their ability to fine-tune the most powerful, long-lasting fragrances ever created for Paco Rabanne. So they've got this super team.
Do you know one thing that immediately strikes me is if the AI was good, you could probably have the world's worst perfumer to sort of finish the job.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm being silly there because it's a collaborative process.
And equally, why?
But why do you need the AI if you've got the best perfumers in the world?
Perfumers? I mean, I know there are lots of collaboration, and even that you see lots of fragrances on Fragrantica where one or two perfumers have listed, and there are definitely more involved.
Have you ever watched Grey's Anatomy or Casualty or any of those sort of things?
Yeah.
I can't get the image out of my head of the thing coming out of the AI process, and then four of them standing around it like surgeons trying to save a life. And you know what I mean? Quick, we need 20 cc's of eugenol now. Quick, I don't know, but I'm very excited to try it because I've read a lot and I've heard a lot, but I have no actual clue about what this smells like.
I would also say, I also wanted to try this because it's so easy for us to. We always say we want to try more mainstream designer releases to see.
Yeah, we should really do that.
See what's happening.
Thank you. Could this be the turning point?
So I will say, the first 15 minutes is an absolute car crash. So I know we opened a new sample, but I had another one, and I had worn this so we could see. Oh fucking hell! It's so. Oh. I mean, I didn't do that.
The opening is like shit Ventus, if such a thing existed. I have to say, it's not as bad as I thought, but it is a bit of a mess, isn't it?
The opening is awful.
Yeah.
It's just an absolute car.
It makes me feel quite sad.
Hear us out, because I have worn this on skin, and we will talk about where it goes after this. It's just a car crash.
Maybe it's a reversal of the whole process of the good first 5 minutes, and then peters away to sort of nothing.
Like,
Maybe they're reversing
like
that.
Jesus saving the best wine to the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just
Save
this
that
car
Blue Nun.
crash of there's lots of Ambrox extreme. There's really metallic, screechy citruses. There's this harsh kind of fruity, appley, like it might be amyl glycinate. It's this kind of hard, galbanum-y, appley, bitter. It's kind of.
I really
it's
don't
what
like
if you gave someone a bunch of really strong aroma chemicals and they went.
Have some of this.
It's so chaotic. But
It does smell like butt.
it does get better, and I've actually
Yeah.
got on my hand the dry down. So you just have 15 minutes of absolute carnage with loads going.
Give me a headache.
Yeah, I mean it makes me feel a little bit ill the opening. But then out of this screechy metallic brashness, you start a sweetness, which you don't get to start with. A sweetness starts to come through, and then you eventually realise that that's vanilla, or vanillic sweetness. And then actually from about 15 minutes for the next 7 or 8 hours. I mean, I sprayed this at 8 o'clock this morning. So when's that? What's that like? I don't know.
9 hours?
Yeah, no, a bit longer than that. 10, isn't it? 10, 11 hours. You get this really quite straightforward vanilla lavender.
Okay.
I mean, at the moment, it's just so still. This really just smells like, I'm someone who's been buying oils and dabbling with things that, you kind of put things together and you smell it at the end and go, oh, fuck, I've completely fucked that up.
I need more of those.
This is what it smells. It smells so brash and cacophonous.
I've smelled, and I've also smelt this before.
Yeah.
You guys can say what you want about this being brand new. I have smelt this a million times.
It's so familiar. There's so many things you go, oh yeah, it smells like this.
There's Aventus in there, there's Sauvage again, there's Bleu de Chanel.
But it smells so cheap.
There's Mont Blanc Explorer.
Yeah, don't you think it smells so cheap?
It does. It really. We're not being snobby here. We smell vintage things all the time. The Paco Rabanne, we've smelled that. They're designers that are out now.
This is the same price category, isn't it?
I can only imagine that's deliberate.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because after that, and it's a very very long. They keep going on my long lasting. Fair play, obviously they're jam-packed with aroma, like cheap aroma chemicals, so it is long-lasting. But the majority of the experience is this quite pleasant vanillic lavender. And you can smell, there's still a kind of slight...
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. That
screechy muskiness to it. But it's not that terrible, but it's also not that original.
No.
This is just it turns into a very generic, cheap designer vanilla lavender. In the same, it doesn't smell like Lamal, but that kind of, they kind of establish that kind of lavender. Easy wearing. If you smell this, it's very very familiar. But so what I don't understand is, if you were in a department store or airport, you don't smell this quite easy wearing, reasonably pleasant vanilla lavender. You smell this screechy, chaotic thing.
Yeah. People like it though. The number of people that will say that this smells incredible, and that like that slightly oversweet. Like we talked about synthetics, and that they're not a bad thing, like some people think, but this is synthetic in a bad way. This feels very very fake.
Yeah. But it's loads of strong things just fighting with each other.
It smells like something you've spilt that you didn't want to spill.
Yeah.
And you can't get it out of your clothes.
It smells like a mistake. I.e. perhaps a computer's just thrown loads of things in the bottle. But the majority, from 15 minutes to 10 hours, is not like that. And
that's good to know.
It's pretty smooth.
That's fine, but I would get that. I would get that from any number of perfectly cheap shower gels and things that I wear. I'm not saying that they need to go for duration, but even that it's perfectly fine. But it's nothing. It's nothing groundbreaking at all.
But, when I was wearing it, I had this kind of crazy thing going on in my skin, and then it kind of settled down. I was like, okay, actually, this now has gone to a reasonably well-made fragrance, not a cheap smelling fragrance, but I don't. What you're left with is not revolutionary or exciting or groundbreaking or special. It's been done a million times before, and I don't understand.
What's the blurb about?
Yeah, I just don't understand it.
Ultimately, what's the point? We've done this thing with AI, and it's really revolutionary, blah blah blah. Ultimately, you've pretty much followed the same process you do with all your perfumes. We know behind the scenes you've done the same thing, and it's a concept. It's a packaging.
But why have such a crazy opening, which has a dry down, which is so familiar?
Yeah, if you want to make money, then do it the other way around. At least let the airport crowd enjoy the opening before they get on their flights. That's nasty. That's I really don't like that.
Because if you smell it,
I keep smelling it to try.
And like the opening, then if you wear it on the skin, you're going to be ultimately disappointed. And if you smell it on your friend, or you smell it in a club or whatever, you're going to smell this lavender vanilla thing, and you think, okay, that's fine, I'll buy it, and then you'll spray it and go, God, what's this weird?
Yeah, this to me does feel like a very kind of clubby fragrance. I can imagine maybe for a younger crowd like we were once. You dose yourself up on this and go to some club at 2 a.m, jam packed full of people. It's kind of sweaty. It almost feels like a deodorizing feature, but it's like a Lynx body spray or something like that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a Lynx body spray.
I'm not being harsh here. I'm really not being harsh. But if you stood in dog shit and you picked up your shoe to smell it and it smelled like this, you'd think, oh, that's actually quite nice. But that's relative to what you've stepped in.
I don't. The top is terrible. But if you smell that, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. But it's fine. It's like
it's not as good as
a bog standard. No, it doesn't touch it.
Or there are lots of lavendery, vanilla-y fragrances better than this.
You're never going to smell that and go, oh, my old familiar friend. You're never going to do that. Yeah, it doesn't compare. That's a whole other magnitude of perfume making.
That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is La Nuit.
That's just another dimension of perfume.
Elegance, no rough edges. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Do you know who? I have to say, I'm being harsh here, but whoever's in charge of this stuff, you need to smell these two next to each other and realise how far down the wrong tracks you've gone. It's not about being old or vintage. It's about the quality.
What is clear is that it's not about the perfume.
No. It's everything else, isn't it?
Yeah. We were also saying before, is it being released at this kind of time? Is it anything? It's kind of a post-pandemic fragrance. Is it conceived as something trying to be modern and getting away from tradition? People want something new. It's a cheap fragrance. Or is it
a sort of weird introverted twist on slow news day, but actually major news day? So let's release our perfume. That's really rough. I'm sorry, that's really rough in the opening. It's cloying. It shouldn't make me feel sick just smelling it on a card. I'll smell 100 cheapies and buy them, and love them. It's nothing to do with the price point or the designer name or anything. It's the smell itself I find nauseating. What are people saying about this? Have you read any reviews?
I haven't really.
I'm gonna have a look.
I was almost tempted to buy a bottle just for the novelty of having that funny little thing, and I guess maybe that's what it's all done in the bottle. Because what's in the bottle must, if it's 5p, I'll be surprised.
No.
Right. Anyway, there you go.
Paco Rabanne, a real masterpiece. Yeah. And it really, sometimes I know what some of you might think is that we love our old vintage things and we don't like the modern stuff. And that's not true at all, because we love so much modern stuff that's actually really interesting and out there. January Scent Project, things that Prin is doing, things Sarah McCartney's doing. It's not about that. It's about the standards, and it's about the integrity.
But I would like to find a new designer fragrance, which I guess last one was Gucci Guilty Absolute.
Yeah, which was quite interesting.
An excellent fragrance, really good. I would like to smell more. Please, I would love recommendations.
A new Caron, is that kind of designer? Maybe not.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of on the edge.
There's a new one I smelled the other day, and it was really good. Kind of coffee lavender.
I would love people to suggest some designer fragrances to, just because I want to be proved wrong. I want to prove that.
Yeah.
Because what's in the bottle is not that expensive, so you should be able to get a great fragrance for 60 quid for 100 ml.
Absolutely.
There you go. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
I mean, I suspect we are not the target audience.
Which is why I feel like I've been hit by a missile.
I've got to say, I mean, I really think the fragrance is much better. I think Phantom is much, much better than I thought it was going to be. I had extremely low expectations, and the majority of the dry down is not.
That's perfectly pleasant. Yeah, that's perfectly pleasant. But I can't get past an opening that's 15 minutes of floor cleaner junk. I can't.
Anyway, there we go. Until next time.
Bye.
Happy sniffing.